Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to the Prosperous Yogini Podcast, episode 36. It is in my world, February half term, so it might be for yours if you have kiddies. So I'm doing a mini-sode. I'm doing a short episode today. Going to try and stick to 10 minutes, but for those of you that know me well, that ain't going to be easy. That ain't going to be easy. And I'm still working through those wonderful questions that came my way as part of my free coaching call of my launch event, the Profitable Yoga Business Roadmap, which I did a few weeks ago now. So one of my favorite questions, I think it was someone asked me if I went back to my first year as a yoga teacher, my first year in business as a yoga teacher, what would I do? Now, do you lose track of time? I lose track of time, right? I'm stuck thinking I'm 28. Like I'm 44, I'm 45 this year. And just before I started that free launch event, I was like, I'm just gonna have a look back. How long have I been teaching? And I realized I've been teaching for 14 years and all over my website's like 12 plus years. I was like, oh, better update all of this. And actually, maybe I just should put teaching for over a decade so I don't have to update this. Like time passes and we sometimes do count. So 14 years ago, I've been a yoga teacher for 14 years. And I just want to pause and just say, if I can create a sustainable business, if I can have been earning money, I'm not always getting it right, by the way, not always earning money. But if I can be in the yoga industry and loving it 14 years on, you can too. You can too. Okay. What is available to me is available to you. Honestly, this is one of the reasons why I'm very driven to do this. One of the reasons why I started this podcast, why I started my mentoring program was like, oh my days, right? If I can do this, I just really want you to know that you can do it too. You can do it too. So the question was, what would I have done differently? And I had like planned a clear response, 2 responses. And then as I was answering the question, you have a flashback and something else pinged back into my brain. And I really would love to share this with you. So the first thing, 3 things I would have do differently if I went back to 2009 and I was starting out, I would have charged more. 100% would have charged more. And it kind of links in actually to my second point of I would have compared myself less. So when you start out, I actually not necessarily against this, but you do look at who else is teaching in your area. What do their websites look like if they have one? How many followers have they got on social media? When are they teaching? Where are they teaching? How much are they charging? Right. And I 100% did this. And the first thing you do when you look around and see what people are charging, well, we're making a huge assumption that they've got their money mindset sorted out, that they've planned for profit when it comes to what they're charging, and they're charging a fair amount. And this is one of my points. This is one of the reasons I suspect why so many majority of yoga teachers are female, why so many yoga teachers are undercharging and undervaluing their services, because we are all just copying each other. And that was 100% me when I started out. So I was looking around, seeing what other people were charging. I'd come across a yoga teacher who would have a nice looking website, who'd been teaching for 4+ years. And I'd be like, well, I can't charge the same as them. They have been teaching, or their website looks really good. They've been teaching for 4 years, 5 years. They've been teaching for 10 years. And that was just a silly mindset to have, because one thing I know for sure is, like, I've never really been asked how long I've been teaching. When people come to my classes, they don't really care. They haven't looked at that other teacher's website and said, oh, they charge £8 a class. Amy's a newly qualified teacher and she's charging £8. Wow, she's charging a lot. Nobody does this other than you. So why are you basing your pricing strategy on this, right? And that's what I'm talking to myself like right now. So I looked at what everyone around me was charging, and I charged less on the grounds that I was a newly qualified teacher. And that's just ridiculous, because now when someone says they're doing that and I'm like, yeah, been there, done that, I'm only charging this amount, I've just qualified. I'm like, okay, so when does it say in the yoga business law that you can put your prices up? And this is a made up law, right? It says it nowhere. It says it nowhere. So you charge what feels aligned for you. And I would have charged more, and I would have not compared myself to other teachers. So first thing, charge more. That's what I would have done. Second, I would have stopped comparing and despairing. So we compare ourselves to others, it leads to despair, and it literally sucks the joy out of life, full stop. And I think perhaps it's even harder now, like 2009. Instagram wasn't a thing. 2009, I had a website. I set up a website, and when I told them one of my training courses, they were like, Amy is cutting edge. Amy is leading edge. And like nowadays, it's like, potentially you're leading edge if you're doing it without a website. Anyway, I'm still pro websites, by the way. So I would have stopped comparing myself, and definitely I was looking at other teachers' websites. Probably, I mean, I joined Facebook. Oh, when did I join Facebook? 2011. So I wasn't even on Facebook when I first started teaching. Okay. And I had people coming to my classes. So you don't necessarily need a Facebook social media. There's people running online businesses prior to social media. There are people running online businesses coming off social media. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. So I definitely spent a lot of time, actually hours, on other yoga teachers' websites, looking at them, looking at their website, looking at what they were doing, looking at where they were teaching, looking at the poses that they were doing on their web pictures, on their web pictures for their website, thinking, I can't do that shape with my body. And they're a much better yoga teacher than I am. Their site looks really good. And all of this was just ridiculous, because those people coming to my classes weren't doing this. They were just enjoying doing yoga with me. I was wasting my time comparing and despairing and sucking the joy. So I would say to myself, charge more and stay in your own lane. You do you, because I couldn't have done any of these other people anyway. I don't know why I was looking at their websites thinking I should be like that, because that's them, not me. And I very much now try and create on my website that this is me, this is who I am. Like the same on social media, this is me, this is who I am. Welcome to my Instagram party. You're welcome in, but if you don't want to come, that's fine, darling. Go and find another party. And then the last thing, this was the thing that came up as I was answering this question, was like, oh my gosh, I remember the other thing that I always felt I had to do. So I started out, like so many of us do, just teaching that couple of weekly vinyasa classes, vinyasa flow type classes. And I felt like every class had to have an inversion, such as handstand or headstand, because otherwise people wouldn't feel like it was a hard class. So like literally every week I was doing handstand and headstand, and if I left them out, I somehow felt like that wasn't a hard enough class and people weren't going to come back. And I'm like, thinking that, like, no, like looking back now, I would have been much better spending more time building up my student strength and technique leading up to these shapes, and feeling that we have to throw in. It was always like we do the flow, the standing pose flow, like very traditional, like warm up standing pose flow, like that inversion perhaps being that more challenging peak posture, coming down to cool down to shavasana, like pretty much every time. And if I didn't do it, I was like, oh, that class wasn't hard enough, some of them won't come back. I think I felt like those more challenging shapes, and this probably linked into my comparing and despairing, those more challenging shapes were needed for people to feel like it was a good yoga class. Was I needed to be teaching them and doing them to feel like I was a proper yoga teacher. And maybe getting older getting older has helped me, has softened me on this, because I'm 44, 45 now. I've had 2 children. I can do a headstand. I do practice headstand, handstand, like my sacroiliac joint on my left hand side. It's sensitive, and much more sensitive since having my children, and kicking off handstand is a guaranteed way to upset it. So I tend to not do handstand unless I'm using a wall or I have someone to support me up into it. Therefore I'm not teaching it that much. In fact, I do a lot of yin now. I'm completely like at peace, leaning into what I love, like, and I've let my practice evolve. I've let my practice change and soften Whereas that sort of like 28, 29-year-old, 30-year-old me would have been very much like, nope, you need to be doing that handstand, you need to be doing those arm balances to prove you're a good yoga teacher, and for your students to enjoy this class, those are the shapes that you need to be presenting. So that was a little window into my early years as a teacher, and those 3 things that if I went back 14 years ago, I would say to myself: charge more, stop comparing and despairing, you do you, be in your own lane. And honestly, yeah, headstand, handstand, they're fun poses, but they really don't need to be in every class. All right, my darling, I hope you enjoyed this mini-sode, and I'll see you all next week.